All right. So this hand took place sometime last year at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. I was playing in a daily tournament. It was a $200 entry with a $10 add-on.
$10 add-on?
$10
add-on. Not all right. Okay. Is there a rebuy as well, or anything else?
It was a re-entry. You started off with 25K, and then the $10 add-on was actually 10K in chips. So it seemed like obvious value to make sure you do that.
Is it like a dealer's choice thing, or a dealer thank you dealer thing, or is it like literally at the break, like at the end of registration when they do the add-on?
No, you could add on right away. Because I was like 15, 20 minutes late to start, and I was able to get the add-on right away.
So it's okay. So it's a $210 tournament, basically. You have to do the add-on. Okay, got it.
And at this point, it was early, probably level 4-ish. The blinds are 200, 400 with a big blind ante. I'm on the button, it folds around to me. I have about 50 big blinds, and I have pocket aces. So,
okay.
The pre-flop's pretty self-explanatory, I think. So I raised to 1100. The small blind seems like a good player. A little bit about him. He had been playing pretty aggressively. I had not seen him lose a pot that went to the river. So either he was bluffing and they had folded and it worked, or he always had it. One way or the other, he had been winning a lot. He was also talking to another regular at the table about his upswing poker classes. So talking about how they were really helping him, doing great. He had just bagged in the Philly Live tournament with like one of the largest stacks. So clearly a regular that is at least training and learning.
Yeah.
He calls. He has about 100 big blinds. He had knocked out 2 players in a big hand a little bit earlier than that. Then the big blind, he's a older amateur. Okay, your stereotypical, like not going to make huge pre-flop mistakes, but easy to play against kind of person. Big blind, he also has about 50 big blinds, so he calls. So we're about the effective stack with about 50 big blinds.
Okay.
3 ways to the flop. The flop is king, king, queen, rainbow, and they both check to me. So I wanted to first ask what you're thinking here.
Yeah, that's a great start. Wow. So absolutely either one of them can have a king, although I would think our guy in the small blind, the upswing poker guy, probably has less kings because I would guess he has more 3-bets than your typical $200 player in the small blind when you open from the button. So he probably doesn't have king queen, for example. He could, but he's probably less likely to have it. He's probably more apt to 3-bet that hand than some other players might be, right? Maybe not king jack, maybe not king 10, but he could have like a bunch of suited kings too because you're deep enough where he could decide to call with that. Certainly the big blind can have a king as well. Wow, it's already a really interesting spot. My first inclination is to check and go right into like pot control and not get myself in a spot where I'm just feel almost either forced to make a big laydown or forced to, be putting in, it's hard to get 3 streets of value from someone who's got a queen. So I think I want to check right away. If someone has jack 10, which is the only hand I'm really concerned about at all, they only have 4 outs. So even then we're not really concerned. Like we want them to hit their ace, if someone has jack 10, we're probably destined to lose a big pot to him anyway, somewhere along the line. I think I want to go into pot control right away. Also, only having 50 blinds means never having to say you're sorry. And it also means, like we can actually get a lot of chips in this pot later. Like we could, in theory, be all in if we decide actually like on turn and river, I think I really clearly have the best hand here, and you decide to make bigger bets. You could get there if you really wanted to. And someone's going to hero you anyway. So I think I want to check right away, but I'm sure a lot of people would bet here. What did you do?
So I'm glad you said that because that's actually what I did. I checked as well for a little bit of pot control.
Yeah.
Very much so I was worried about getting blown off the hand, specifically by the upswing poker guy. But yeah, I just thought check, played a little bit safer here, given the situation. So.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Clubs Poker is doing this cool thing called Clubs Madness from March 23rd through 31st. It's like March Madness. There's 64 tournaments with 200K in total guarantees. And if you win one of the 64 tournaments, you get entered into the Tournament of Champions, which is a 5K free roll. Check out Clubs. Use the link in the description and use the code POKERGUYS to sign up today.
So I check. The turn is an offsuit 4, complete rainbow on the board. So no flush to worry about. And they both check to me. So. Okay.
So I think it's time to start betting. Seems like it'd be crazy not to. There's 3,500 in the pot, 3,600 in the pot, something like that. I don't think we need to bet super big. We're targeting a queen or medium pocket pairs that want to hang around or something like that. And maybe if the upswing guy, maybe we can talk the upswing guy into bluffing us because Usually they're going to bet their kings by the turn. So I think I'd want to bet. I'd probably bet like 40% of the pot or something, maybe even 30 to 40% of the pot, something like that. If it was me, what'd you do?
So I bet 2K. So I went a little bit over 50% of the pot.
Okay. That's
just my thinking was like, if they do have a queen or a pocket pair, they're probably going to call either way, I thought. So just in case I'm bluffing kind of thing.
Sure.
So the small blind does call and the big blind folds. So we go to the river. The river is a deuce and the small blind checks to me.
I mean, we just have to bet. We just absolutely have to bet. I think I like the idea of betting small here. One, to get called by, I think we're getting called by a queen even if we bet like big-ish, not huge, but big-ish. But I want to get called by all the other things. And betting small may also induce a bluff out of the cool upswing poker guy. So if I bet small, it may also make the bluff a little easier for us to call, as well as induce it a little bit more of the time. Like, I don't want to bet big and take away all his like cool check raise bluffs because he has a blocker that he loves suddenly, or something like that. So, and our line also looks kind of weak. It's like we're way stronger than we probably should be here. Like we look like we have, queen jack suited or something like that rather than aces a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was under the same thought process. I ended up betting 3K, which is maybe 40%-ish, something along those lines. So I bet 3K.
Here it comes.
And
here we go.
The small blind does race to 8,400.
Right.
8,400. So 5,000 on top.
Okay. I think with all the data that we have on this guy, he's the cool upswing player. He's one of the big stacks in this other tournament. He's playing a lot of hands. We've under-repped our hand. We've sort of given, we don't look like we look like we either have basically like a full house or way worse than we do. Like we're way more closer to medium strength than it would seem, here where like, yeah, I guess we could have a queen, but aces are way better than a queen in this spot where he could have a queen too and be like, I think I have the best hand, or I'm going to blow him off a queen, man. I can do it, I think we kind of have to call against this player type specifically without any more data than that, unless you feel like, and you didn't say this, but if I felt like I was seeing him, like make no moves, but he just always turns up with the best hand. And, he just always has it. There's some of those guys. But usually guys who've been dominating the table and are dominating other tournaments and are doing these kinds of things are looking for spots and learning to take the spots. So I think I have to call, man. What was your thought process and what'd you do?
So I did leave out one piece of information I wanted to save for this point because I didn't want to ruin what they were going to do. So my similar process was thinking with my brain, thinking, okay, this guy taking the upswing, I expect he's going to be more aggressive. I feel like I'm probably going to play half my kings similar way on the flop of checking. So I thought I was pretty high up where I was like, I feel like I under-repped my hand. I end up calling. However, I will say that I might have picked something up subconsciously because in my gut on the river, I didn't even want to bet. Like I felt like it was going to happen. So I don't know if, like I said, body language or something, I picked it up and I had that bad feeling in your gut. And I didn't even want to bet, but my brain won. And so I bet, found myself in position, and then I decided to call. And the small blind turned over king 9 off. So then what immediately went through my head was, raising on the river is always an under bluff spot, and I probably should have folded. And so I felt like a compounded mistake of I read it, like I should have followed my gut, and then I still called for it.
I mean, I think you are probably right that you aren't going to see very many check raises on the river as bluffs in the world until you get much higher up in stakes. Usually, those are like the guys, but it's the guys who are studying GTO stuff and guys who are trying to be balanced. So if he's doing that, at least he's a good candidate to make this call. It's possible this is a profitable call against him anyway, even though he had it this time. I got to give him a lot of credit for actually pulling the trigger with king 9, not even having like king jack or something like that, where he even knows like, oh, I'm 3-betting king 10. This is the best king I have. The way you played it, it just doesn't look like you ever have a king, and I'm going to try and get called. I might talk myself into, how are you going to call me anyway with a queen? Like, you're just going to fold the queen anyway. Why would I do this? And be more bluff heavy there, if anything. So I give him a lot of credit for actually pulling the trigger. I think this is just one of those things that sucks. The fact that he had king 9 off, though, actually makes me think he's not like this great player. either.
Yeah.
No offense to whoever this is. He's studying, he's learning, but like that he can show up with that also makes me almost rethink a lot of my stuff I was assuming about him, based on our original
Yeah, it did.
diagnosis.
It definitely did. Afterwards, I definitely adjusted how I thought, because I would have expected if he had a king, he would have 3-bet a lot of the time. So I thought he was trying to get cute, and then with the price of only 5,000 more, I was like, okay, I'm going to call here. But it seemed to be split on the Discord of he shouldn't have played that, definitely fold on the river. And I will say, I thought I made a mistake afterwards as I thought about the hand for it. So
I definitely think you do have to bet the river, to be clear. Like, you have to target a queen. He's going to have a lot more queens. And it is a really fair point that you make, and maybe half of Discord makes, about people don't really check raise bluff post flop, excuse me. Like, on the flop they do it, but once you hit turn and river, it gets rarer and rarer. I mean, it does make it work, but the truth is, like, you'd also only want to do that to someone who you think is good enough to know that people really always have it in that spot. And, like, a lot of people don't know that either. It means that you can get away with things a little bit more, but most people don't have that gear. It's a fair point. And I just feel like, I don't know, would you really play half your kings like that? Half?
So
many.
I might be exaggerating on it, but when I was looking at it, I was definitely king queen. I think I'm definitely, because you dominate that flop.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I probably would play ace king a little bit more slowly there, and probably be betting some of the other kings. That might be the wrong way to play the range. I'm not a professional. But I that was kind of my thought process. So if I had kings, it would be like king jack, king 10, or some of the king suiteds. And I definitely would bet some of those along the way. So probably a little bit more I'm betting than 50%.
Yeah.
I'm probably just using some special language there, but yeah.
Yeah, just because, like, if you're on the button, you're going to open, like, essentially every suited king. I
pretty
imagine,
much.
and a lot.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of kings there. And even, I agree, certainly you're almost certainly checking back king, queen most of the time, unless you've got a crazy image. Ace, king, I don't know. I think you can make a case to bet, but that's another conversation for another day.
Sure.
I'm guessing you're betting most of your other kings, just because you want to have strong bets there. And now it turns out he's going to do okay. King 9 actually does okay against a bunch of your other kings, interestingly enough, anyway.
Very true.
But those aren't the kings you show up with here, right? And if you go bet, and he goes call, raise, you might not even bet your bad kings on the river. Or if you do, and he's probably not raising anyway if you go bet.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The one other thing which is interesting about this, and we have to wrap it up because it's table talk and everything's got to be quick.
Sure.
Is if you had bet bigger, different things happen, right? The alchemy of the hand changes a little bit, where if you bet a bit, like, instead of betting a third of the pot, which I was advocating, to be clear, like, I like that idea because we're hoping to induce a little bit against the guy who might have that play in him. But if we bet bigger, it's going to take away some of his raises, right? Even this hand may choose not to raise now, where he's like, oh, geez, you feel strong, and I can't fold, of course. I'm still going to call, but, so you actually end up saving chips a lot of the time if you bet bigger. Also, it makes it easier for you to fold if you bet bigger, because him raising anyway is a stronger play. I don't think he is raising king 9 probably if you bet bigger, but so I don't know. But we take away all his bluffs, and part of the idea was to induce bluffs, and we wanted to make it easier for a hand like, I don't know if 2-8s are ever going to call. I don't know if they are, but and a bad queen, a queen 9 suited or something like that to call. So I don't know. This is a tough one. It sucks. I hate losing. So
I do as well. I wanted to. But, I think we all lose hands like that. I thought it would be appropriate to kind of bring a hand up like that. So
yeah, it's just part of the game, man.
Part of the game.
Tired of being tired of being sick. In my head 24/7, how I'm supposed to pay the rent. Mr. Practice, I don't play. Friday nights we on the bench, trying to come up with a play. If it don't work, then hit a lick. 12 knocking at my door, praying they ain't tell. I'm studying her word, prayer. Baby Excel, got away with way too much. Should've got expelled, but the school saw my potential. Smart kid trying to rebel. Yeah.